about that. My name is Meredith White. I teach Spanish just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And we've got we've got like a big map section covered right now because Rebecca's in the Neckville region and then Daphne, you're in Southwest Colt. And so we've got like from Texas all the way up the coast to Massachusetts. So that's pretty cool. We are, minus the tech difficulty, this is going to be very casual, very casually chatting about just the year and all the things, but specifically reflecting on Rebecca's Thrive video that I have above my head. You have the link there. And Daphne's Thrive video, which were both poignant, of course, in their own ways. I have like 4 of them and like 2 of them are in my pajamas. So like, do not watch those, but watch theirs. Daphne's is the last one submitted before all of this happened. So that's what kind of led us to go like, this would be a cool panel, is to get like, you know, different places, different perspectives, different languages. We've got 3 different languages here, and kind of chat casually about what all of this means, as much as we can, you know, guess at this point. I guess it's all just kind of a guess. And reflecting on the purpose of the Thrive webinar series, which was to support teachers, to support teacher retention, and really just open up some of those conversations that we don't always get a chance to have. So I've got some guiding questions, but Daphne, would you mind introducing yourself? And then Rebecca, you'll introduce yourself.
Not at all. Good evening, everyone, or guten Abend. My name is Daphne Warren. I am a high school teacher in Plano, Texas, at Plano Senior High School. I also sponsor the Black Student Union, which is my baby, and very active with College Board on the AP Development Committee for German, and so many other things that I love. So welcome, and I'm so glad to see everyone.
Love it. Rebecca?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Blouwolff. I am a middle school French teacher just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and I've been at the school where I teach now basically my entire adult life since 1998. And I also speak non-native French at home with my family.
Wow, wonderful. I was going to ask, because I know Daphne's moved, I've moved. I didn't realize that you had been there for like the duration of your career. Do you think besides whatever, well, I remember what happened. It was last year or 2 years ago where the program issues, and I remember you advocated a lot and like got things turned around. Do you think being there, besides that, do you think being there has helped this experience overall? Like being there so long and knowing the place, having experience, like all those kind of things? I didn't realize that.
Sure. So, and I should add, so the whole crisis with the K-8 world language teachers being pink slipped happened in the town where I live, Brookline, Massachusetts, and not in the town where I teach, which is 2 towns west, Wellesley, Massachusetts. Right. Cool. So thank goodness we have a very strong leadership in the district where I work and a lot of continuity, which I think is a huge support to our program, because we have a superintendent who's very enthusiastic about world language and has sort of boxed our program off as like, don't touch this. This is one of our initiatives.
Right.
That's it. So that's been awesome. But yeah, I have taught basically my whole adult life in this one school, and they are, you know, they're like my family. They know. We played 2 truths and a lie yesterday during a birthday party for a department member, and like, I got nothing. Everybody knows all my lies, all my truths. They were like, oh, you didn't have your bat mitzvah at the VFW. Nice try.
Dang it.
So yeah, it's a community that's seen me through all the highs and lows of my adult life, myriad breakups, being 9 months pregnant, you know, just everything. So that helps a lot. Yeah, I feel like I've got a lot of skin in the game. That's sort of where I've learned everything I know about teaching. And I haven't thought about going anywhere else because it's such a supportive place. It's such a large middle school. It's many years we're the largest middle school in the state. And so even though we offer 5 languages at the middle school level, I have not only a full-time job, but 2 part-time colleagues in French, which is just so rare for a middle school French teacher in the United States. It's really as close to an ideal situation as you're going to get. And someone makes photocopies for us.
That is like the best. If you've never been at a school where they make your copies, that'll change your life. We're not being sarcastic.
Yeah,
like,
no, just think about that one. It's big.
Oh, it's big. We used to have a pair of sisters, Pam and Jan, that made them, and you never interrupted Pam and Jan because they were always like, 24 hours in advance. It's a fair rule. Yeah, that's incredible. Well, yay. I've been wondering that because I've been reflecting when I rewatched your video and I rewatched Daphne's. I got thinking, these are both very, A, excellent, obviously, but B, experienced teachers that I would, just knowing you two, I would imagine you can pretty readily express what support means for you these days, which I know for me, like the ebb and flow career wise, that's not always easy. Like you said, it's like your family's growing, you're moving, or, personal things are happening, like whatever's going on, support takes on so many different forms. And I think that's a huge foundational piece of tonight's conversation is, is the experience helping or hindering kind of how we're getting through the day to day? Because we could be stuck on what's always worked, or we could be, like, oh, well, whatever, because I have so much, I can edit all those things. I'm not worried about what we're going to do. I'm just worried about how we're going to do it. And that kind of thing. So I'll open it up to Daphne first. Daphne, what surprised you this year?
What most surprised me is just how much patience I actually have.
Mm-hmm.
I have been telling my colleagues to just, be really calm about everything.
Mm-hmm.
We are all first year teachers with these new methods that we're trying all at once. And, getting frustrated just adds to the load, and there's no need to do that. So I just feel that understanding that you cannot solve all the problems. Technology is just going to be a trial and error type of deal some days, and some days it's going to go really well, and be okay with that. And just take notes if you notice the pattern and try to, fix it for the next round.
Absolutely. Well, and the things, maybe it sounds like what you're saying too, is maybe things you would have sweated before, we literally can't now. Like we can't, I would have been frustrated at this thing. It is what it is,
and that's exactly what I'm trying to say. It's, we are very used to being near perfect before class begins, from, that bell to bell, that seamlessly, flawlessly planned lesson. And that has not really been the case for me this year. It didn't matter how much I planned and how much I prepared. But what I have allowed myself to do is empower my students. If they knew something, share with me. Even as minute in the beginning as, Brow, you're muted. I'm not going to get offended, point it out, if I'm going back and forth through breakout rooms and all of a sudden Zoom decides to mute me without my consent, and I don't notice because I'm so excited to see my kiddos.
Right.
I told them, just shout it out or put in the chat if you're not comfortable talking. It's okay. Let me know. And so by them playing an active role, we both are struggling, but also surviving together.
Absolutely. Rebecca, has anything surprised you from, I guess, March and on?
I mean, I think the biggest surprise for me right now is that I didn't expect school to stay open this year. We opened hybrid in early October.
Okay.
And we've been open the whole time. And sometimes the numbers have been terrible and sometimes they've been great. I think we've only had like 2 cases in the last month in my school, which is awesome. But the whole way I conceived of this year and my plan to get through it and my plan to get my family through it was all based on the fact that, and I thought we were going to close by Halloween and we'd be
same.
So, so that has been a surprise. I didn't think we'd be as far as we are. And yesterday the governor announced that he's opening all the schools full-time, 3-foot distance, starting with elementary in late April, and then middle school, and then maybe all the way to high school before the year gets out, because we go through the end of June in Massachusetts.
Right.
So there's been a lot of surprises this year, frankly, but I didn't think that the plan that we made this summer was going to hold for so long.
Yeah. Well, and so many times you hear, if it's on the radio or if it's whatever, it's like, and parents want to get schools back open. And I'm like you, we've been hybrid, we've been in person essentially since August. And so I'm like, this is what we've been open the whole time. You know, this is, I think it's that thing of like open versus closed. I think people take like a building being closed as school being canceled, you know, and it's like, those are not the same. And we're working, you know, super hard to like Daphne said, to keep it going however it needs to be going. I think in terms of surprises for me, I know I mentioned in a couple of my videos that in my pajamas that, you know, on Twitter from time to time, we will mention hashtag highlight reel, like keeping it real, not real, like a movie reel, right? Like not just the, like the good stuff. And for me, the highlight reel this year has really been, I've been surprised at the in-person students not working nearly as hard as the virtual students. So that's my maybe unpopular observation confession. That's been the biggest thing for me to get past. And those of you attending and here with us, if you've got anything similar, any reflections, we can see the chat. So please, we'll, you know, respond and all of that kind of thing. Please pop in there anything, and it won't be shared, obviously. Any kind of thing you can relate to, because for me, I was really surprised. Daphne, it was like you said, I was used to like, I mean, not like seamless at all, but just like having a plan, having, you know, something, and then to not have a plan and to find myself like, you know, Rebecca, you're in person. Why aren't you doing any work? And then like the virtual students working really hard, checking their grades, following up, advocating for themselves, you know, asking for like, hey, can you explain, you know, this particular concept, or can we get more videos like that YouTuber from, you know, Guatemala? Yes. Like, so that's been really surprising for me. Just kind of emotionally, my only students who aren't doing well are in person, grade wise. I mean, grade wise, and also like check-in and relationship wise, I feel in some ways more distanced from some of the roomies and not the Zoomies. And I find that really interesting. I don't know if that feels like, Daphne, familiar for you, but now I can't remember if your kids are in person or hybrid or all virtual. I can't remember your setting now.
We're hybrid. We've been hybrid since September.
Yep.
With the transition. And as you were talking about that, the only thing that comes to mind is that school just does not potentially feel traditional to them. Half empty. They don't necessarily see their friends.
Right.
Our students were split by cohort A and B, based on alphabet and their last name. And they would never see their friends unless they took a class with them.
Right. Okay.
So it's very empty on campus. The cafeteria is quiet. We play music.
Same.
So that we can have some sound going, so that they can have like a transition from, you know, just feeling alone. And I did a little bit of research. I am in school, everyone. Yes, I decided to go back to school. But I did a little research on the just the psyche of our kids today. And it has shown that this is the loneliest generation. It's the loneliest generation. Yeah. And because of that, how do you make up for it when a school is halfway empty?
Right.
And then you have teachers, you know, balancing that hybrid, that co-seating. Are you looking at the screen? Are you looking back and forth? It's just not the same experience. So that may be a reason why, but that's, yeah, I've experienced both. The students that are just non-participatory, I just think that they have a lot of personal things going on at home that just are out of my control. I did make home visits at the beginning of the semester, last semester, and on Fridays, and that did help some, but then we had to stop. So it's just challenging all over.
I was gonna say exactly what you just said reminded me, Lisa, who just posted in the chat, she had posted a couple, it was last week, I think, it was some just kind of the sentiment that she had just put in the chat too, of like, oh, this year's been so weird. And it really stuck with me, because that's also, I think, as language teachers, something that we're really good at, I think, usually. And kids like come into our class, like, you know, bonjour, you know, whatever. I mean, they have better pronunciation than I do, because I don't know what R's do in French, but it seems like, is it like bonjour? Is it like, am I doing like a ooh? Okay.
It's all good, Meredith. It's all good.
Bonjour. No, they come in, they might do that. they come in, you know, and they're like, I spoke German with my friend and da-da-da-da. And they like get excited about our content in like weird, nerdy ways like we do. And we make food and we talk about culture and like swear words creep in because somebody said this and, you know, this instead of this. And it's like, oh, don't say that, you know, we can laugh. And for me, really close to my teacher identity was just like Lisa just put in the chat, like that the relationships like are just so different. It feels like they've tanked a little bit. And we know that they're there because I think they appreciate us being like a steady presence. And that's kind of been my, if we can, you know, be that. And that's been kind of my goal this year is like, don't hate Spanish, learn a little Spanish, don't hate my guts, and don't feel like anybody did you wrong. You know, like in this context, like I want you to feel like you were treated fairly, like I was warm, steady, as steady as possible. And that you did a little Spanish and like it wasn't hard. And those are just kind of the goals of like, yeah, you learned a little bit and we did a thing and let's, you know, let's keep going. And the relationship piece was something that I held really close to my teacher identity. And so when that warped, it was really weird not being like teams didn't play games. So there was no teacher appreciation night for volleyball. So, you know, little Sally Sue didn't come in and say, Senora, will you be my, and I mean, for 14 years, I have held that. I mean, you know how they perceive you. And that was really important to me. And to see that transition, and exactly, I think it was like Stacy just put either Stacy, maybe, yeah, I think maybe it was just Lisa and I mixed them up, but like in order in the chat, but saying like, that's what I held near and dear. And to see that change was like, oh, this is upsetting because that was kind of part of how I saw myself doing this and what made this fun in a lot of ways. And then to see that change was like, okay, oh, I know who it was. It was like the kids walk, I think it was Lisa, the kids walk in and don't even say hi, you know, or they get a mask break and they can just like, they don't really interact with each other still. They might still just be like looking at their phone or whatever. And I found myself really having to like, think about that. Like, it's okay. You know, I'm saying hello in the target language. Do they even know what I'm saying? Like, are they walking in and just ignoring me? Like, so then I just would be like, hi, how are you? And I was like, stop saying it in Spanish because they were literally just continuing to walk. And that was really weird to me and felt really rude. I don't know, Rebecca, if you've experienced.
Yeah, no, I think it may be a little different in middle school because I think middle schoolers just have so much that
Yes.
Even a mask doesn't keep it all in, you know, like there's still a little more that comes out. And when we go on mask breaks, we do 80-minute periods, which is a very big change for our school this year. And the way we make that tolerable for middle schoolers is we teach for about 35 minutes, go walk around the entire building, come back in. That takes about 15 minutes, then come back in for 30. And that 15-minute walk, initially I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to be doing, my interpersonal work. And the kids are going to have boards outside and they're going to be, okay, no, that's where I'm going to be like, so have you gotten your PS5 yet? I know you ordered it in November. How's it coming along? What did you bake this weekend, Dan or whoever? So that's been like the L1 informal check-in moment. And the kids that gravitate toward the teacher when you're walking around the building or is like a child who doesn't have a social connection in the class often. It also tends to be a child who can't necessarily maintain social distance with the masks off. So sometimes I have to be like, I have to drink the rest of this coffee in order to teach the rest of the class. So I'm going to walk to the other side. Everybody else stay here. Yeah, you too. Everybody there. I'm drinking as fast as I can. I'll be right back and we'll talk more about your dog or whatever. So they do... the way we do it, we have Zoomies and Roomies, but they switch days. And so everyone gets one day in person for French week. And I do, you know, any connections that I make during that moment feel so precious to me. And selfishly, I'm like, doesn't everyone want to talk to me during this time? Like,
guys,
why are Daphne and Meredith in the corner yapping to each other? Hello. Right. So I think as teachers, language teachers, middle school teachers, like so hungry to connect with kids. And I really can't connect with my colleagues at all because I'm frankly terrified of them. That's where all our COVID cases are coming. So I stay in my room away from all the other grownups. And the only kids I really speak to only people I speak to during the day at school are kids. So you know, I crave that so much. So I feel like the English during the mass breaks, and I have to say, coming back after vacation this week, I haven't seen my kids in person yet. Tomorrow's my first in-person day. just watching their little faces on Zoom, you know, I have to say the instinct is for me to say in English, wow, it's great to see you back. Like, thank you for coming to class. And I think, you know, this is the year where the 90% remains aspirational, and there are days that we get there. And there's other days where if it can just be a little warmer and fuzzier, that makes a big difference. And I know, Daphne, when you're saying like asking the kids, like, please tell me when I'm muted, that kind of thing. Today I got new 6th graders halfway through the year because they're doing it as a semester course this year, just to make everything more exciting. And so I was teaching them these classroom expressions we played charades, which is actually kind of fun as a little lesson where you can spotlight. They went into breakout rooms in pairs, and each pair got one phrase that they needed to make a skit about. And then when we came back, I would highlight the 2 kids as they made their skit. And then everyone else had their list of expressions and tried to guess what it was. And then often I would just point out to them in English, like, okay, so you're muted. You're going to say that to me, guys, when I am going. And they enjoyed that. I was like, okay, camera on. Let's practice that. Everyone turn your camera off. Okay, Daphne, turn your camera on. Yay, Daphne. Whatever. So just having those little playful moments was like brings a little joy to it. But there have also been moments, just to be totally honest, where I've been almost in tears on screen. Just, I know you two said it so beautifully, like, sometimes it doesn't work and it is what it is. And I'm like mad, like, no, I'm at the top of my game. I know how this should work. I am making this work. I will not let it go. Like, I have earned every gray hair on this head. And that's not healthy, and that's not helping anyone, but it's very hard for me to escape. And, you know, I did go from this point of having really like worked so hard on my craft and feeling like I am getting there. And now it's like, I still know what it's supposed to be, but I can't do it. I cannot get there. And so that is very frustrating to me. I think in the video, I talked about how my husband is a physicist.
Yes.
He works at a startup, which means you try to make things that no one's ever made before. So it's just nonstop failure. Every day he goes to work and they break the thing and they don't have enough of the thing and the other thing is too hot and this thing's too small. And every, you know, in the past, it's always been like, oh, you know, honey, your job's so hard. I go in and I want the kids to say hello in French. And at the end, everyone says hello in French. It is like, we are always successful in school.
Right.
Like we almost always do our thing. And this year it feels more like that startup. You know, I don't enjoy that, but some people think that's interesting. Like trying to make something work and all the parts are broken and nothing fits. And that's, you know, that's a struggle.
I didn't want to use the word resent, but now that you've said that about like feeling like you're like, oh, I'm good at this. Like I will say the emotion piece, I said emotional a couple times earlier, like just having to reconcile emotions this year. The emotion is resentment because I'm like, school district was yanking us back and forth. And I'm like, like you said, what are we going to do? We're going to be out by October, you know, yada, yada, yada. And when they're not engaging or participating, because like, that's exactly what you said. We're used to getting that. Like language teachers were like, come on, this is your favorite time of day. Like, don't lie to me. We both know it's your favorite class. Like, come on, because our class is fun and we're kind of fun. And like, you know, when you feel like you're good at your job and like you said, at the top of your game, you're like, what more could you want? You know, like I'm doing my best here. And that's what I felt this year 100% is I'm like, I'm good at this. I'm not a sitting teacher. Like I didn't realize how judgy I was of things until like we became the things like a sitting teacher. And I was like, no, I don't. Just for the record, I never sit down. So I'm almost like pulling out references. Like you can contact the following former students, you know, because it's like, they'll tell you I never sit, you know, there's 36 kids in every class. You got to be up and around, whatever. And so this has felt like a betrayal of skills and experience, both being like, no, darn it, I'm good at this and you will do this and you will like it and you will learn it because you can trust me, which, you know, for yelling at people to trust you is not how you get people to trust you. But that's what I felt like I've wanted to do all year is like, trust me, it's going to be okay. And then, you know, not scary at all. Very scary. Daphne, I was going to ask you, I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but in the context of CULTR, and like I said, these are our archive, our collection of videos is an advocacy effort. So if you guys don't know, I know we got started quickly, but if you don't know CULTR uses Title VI money to like improve world language education. So the Thrive videos, like I said, are a support resource. So the CULTR Center at Georgia State offers PD, which are like workshops in the summer, these videos, this panel, which we're super lucky for Daphne and Rebecca to be here, and we're grateful for your time. The overarching theme is just empowering world language teachers like in our different communities. I think we're doing that these days in a number of ways, like with each other, with just honest conversations like this, but also with some tools and some general habits and practices. Daphne, if you had to say what's kept you, I'm going to say like afloat, but what I really mean by that is like what has kept you going day to day this year, or whom could you name a couple things that have kept it like, I'm still working and I'm still a teacher?
I have a small list, and I stick to it. The first one is boundaries. I typically work every summer, and that includes AP reading, AP writing, writing curriculum. And I noticed I was getting burned out before the school year was supposed to start, and not knowing what to expect. We initially went in just remotely, and then that transitioned to co-seating in September, so a month later. And it, rocked everyone's world. So I made my mind up then. I have to set boundaries, meaning no more emails after 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. No more researching, because, we love to research, and us as world language teachers, that is something that we do constantly for authentic resources. And I had to say, Daphne, it's okay. You have enough material. And the way that classes are now structured for me right now, there's no way that I could do what I would have done in a traditional setting. So I've had to tell myself to back off. But yeah, boundaries with communication, work-wise, parents and students, unless of course there's a crisis. And then, knowing that I need to be kinder to myself. Stop being so hard on myself. We work very, very hard on a consistent basis, and being okay with making mistakes. I tell my students all the time, if you don't make mistakes, you're not going to earn credit, because that's part of your thought process when you are learning a language. And I have to start practicing what I'm preaching. So instead of me being so upset about whatever, if it's technology related, if I can't get in touch with someone, whatever the case may be, I have to just really let it go faster. So boundaries, letting it go much faster. And then lastly, taking the time away from the screen.
Yeah.
Very important to me. I actually, something that I faithfully did my first 4 years of teaching, I'm now in my 10th year, is I wrote in a journal. I wrote how each lesson went at the end of the day, just a short paragraph. And I stopped doing that because we were so, gung-ho about technology. But now that I am always online, I said, no, this is part of my boundaries. I need to get away from the screen. And it's so nice to be able to sit outside maybe and write.
Right.
And I have some props. Pens. Yes. Or my Tull pen, something that'll just glide. And it's so therapeutic. It's really therapeutic. So those 3 things are my staple.
Absolutely. Rebecca, what would you say? What's kept you going, or whom?
I have a standing date with my department on Tuesday afternoons, and we call it check in and share. And it can be like, my Zoom looks different this week. I don't know why. I can't get the chat to, and then someone else is like, oh yeah, they did an update and now you have to do this thing. Or sometimes it's just, how's your family? How's it going? What mask are you wearing? Where are you eating lunch now that it's so cold we can't eat lunch in our cars? Or, just sharing. And honestly, I think for me, it's just that reality check. Like, this is really, really hard. It's not something you can do alone. And there is for me a comfort in the sound. I hope it doesn't sound cruel, but in seeing other people struggle, like this is just very hard. And so I think every time I hear someone else say this is hard, I just feel like, oh, I feel seen. Yes, this is so hard. So that has been a trusting space where I feel like I can just share and talk about, like, there's 3 kids who I've never seen ever. They've never had their cameras on, or, just sort of getting a reality check from my colleagues. So that's a big one. And then I'm really trying to fill my time with things that are good for me when I'm not teaching. And I'm almost doing that because if I don't fill it with that, I'm going to fill it with more work. And so I'm sort of keeping myself from working as much by, I can like sign up to swim laps at the pool. So I make myself sign up for the whole week and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a little tight. And it's like, no, it's not. You just get home, you throw a shirt on and you get on the Zoom. It's not a big deal. Like make myself do that, like make myself do the online yoga. I went for a walk with my oldest friend today, just before this. So trying to think about, you know, what are the few things that I feel safe doing that keep me going. And I definitely notice that when I get lazy about those, I am a total monster. So I really can't be nice to the people I live with or that I work with if I'm not doing all those things. So yeah, I'm just trying, like every day I feel like I need a treat. Like tomorrow I have to go into school for the first time in 2 weeks because we were on vacation last week. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have my special coffee on my way in. And then on the way home, I'm going to do this, which will be relaxed. I'm going to sign up for this yoga class, which I love. And I feel there have been moments this year where friends have said to me, I feel like I have nothing to look forward to. And I think now there's a sense that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's sort of a question about how do we have the strength to get to that tunnel. And I know in some states, teachers are being vaccinated. That is not the case in Massachusetts. For me, that's the light. Like when I have that shot in my arm, I'm counting on sleeping a lot better. But until then, one of my yoga teachers is always like, take exquisitely good care of yourself this evening. And I'm like, oh, say that again.
Yeah.
So,
right. Oh, that's nice.
I like that wording. Doesn't it sound relaxing?
Yeah, that's delightful.
Puts me on a pedestal when I hear that.
Right.
I deserve it.
Thank you. I will.
I do think we have to kind of overdo it this year in order to even get to the baseline. So there's sort of, you know, like people say you can't spoil a baby.
Right.
I don't think you can spoil yourself during a pandemic because we need so much. We're starved for everything. So
right. Even like you said, like things to look forward to, but also like daily. Like it's not just like, okay, 3 weeks from now, I'll like I'm not gonna make it to 3 weeks. What are we looking forward to today? Even if it's to me like an activity, like one little thing, because it's, you know, roomies, zoomies, our time on Zoom is precious. People are sharing computers. They've got, you know, connectivity issues, whatever. It's like, let me get like one activity that I'm looking forward to doing, or I'm looking forward to seeing their answers for every day. And then what's something I'm doing for myself each day, or, you know, tomorrow, but in the evening or something. Yeah. Like on TV or a walk or a, you know, podcast episode, anything to look forward to. There was something, Stacy, let me scroll back up. I think it might've been, Stacy, let me see, screens, yeah, no, there's something that triggered my thought, but I lost it. But yeah, for me, it would be, I think a couple of technology tools that I was like kind of using, but have now become staples. And I would say, kind of like I had asked you, Rebecca, about experience, I am really grateful that this experience is happening in a school where I've been for a little while. And I don't have any new preps. So like I'm teaching the same thing I've been teaching, and that's been really nice. And my administration is really supportive, which for me these days, not to be insensitive, but kind of looks like get out of the way. They don't, you know, if we're going to be, I feel like we've made being micromanaged the enemy. And I don't know that it always is, because some of the unsturdiness of this experience has been, what are we doing? Like, just tell me what to do. The kids have to wear masks in the hall. That one wears it like a chin strap. Do I say something? Tell me what to do. You know, it's like that. Like, I don't mind being micromanaged when it's like a party line that we can all kind of, you know, help toe, kind of a thing. And so I think for this experience, I've been really lucky to have that. Like people, like you said, Rebecca, that I can go, this really sucks. And they're like, Zoom crashed 14 times today. I finally just altered all the lesson plans to say asynchronous and emailed all my students. Nobody said thanks or email, you know, I mean, like whatever. And you're like, okay, not that I want you to struggle, but thank you. Like, I'm so glad you said that, because it's not alone. And definitely, like you said, like being kind to yourself, which I don't think we were good at before this experience. I find that I'm taking if I look at the most stressful years of my career, like this is one, but not in the same ways as the others. Others were like, when my husband was deployed, he did it like 3 overseas deployments for like a year, always for exactly a school year. Rude. Feel like that was on purpose. And then we moved, and I was in a really unsupportive, toxic department for about 3 years. And so those were really hard years, as hard as this, just in way different ways. And I remember reading something about that jar metaphor. Like if you put the like if you put the sand in first, you don't have room for any rocks. But if the rocks are the important things and you put the rocks in first, you can always fit more sand, but not if you're prioritizing the wrong thing in your life. And I remember reading that 9 or 10 years now, I guess it was like 2012 when I was in that department. And it was like, wow, like I'm 100% filling with sand, and I need to really like get centered. Daphne, I don't know if you feel like that's what you've done. Like, do you feel like you're taking better care of yourself this year than in the past because we've kind of been forced to?
I'm more cognizant of it.
Yeah.
I can't attest to constantly and steadily doing it, but I'm definitely making an effort to do it, and just pausing sometimes. I feel like because the internet is 24 hours, it's 365, and it's supposed to be readily available at all times. You feel that pressure that foundation that I had when I first started teaching. I do want my students to get the best out of each lesson, because one thing I tell them all the time, I've always said, I am not going to waste your time. Please don't waste mine. Yep. And so just really understanding that that it's going to be okay, and constantly telling myself that. And yeah, but I've had with last week and everything, just to be transparent with our audience, we've had some really bad damage to our home occur. And I had to tell myself, what is the bright side of all of this? What is going to make me smile? Mm-hmm. I have my family, my students want to see me on Monday. I'm going to be happy to see them. And sure enough, I'm sorry, not Monday. That's our asynchronous day. But Tuesday, it was a joy to see them. And some of them smiled and they laughed. And I just really try to live in the moment when that happened. And I don't know if you noticed in the chat, but I found this really great extension. It's the confetti extension.
Shut up. What does it do?
And, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. It's free. And anytime someone does something great or something silly, I just hit the confetti icon on my ribbon. And the kids are just like, really, Frau, is this what we're doing? And then some are laughing, and it feels like home, right? The normal classroom. So
amazing. Is it the one with a little beanie, like a little like toboggan, like a little ski hat?
That one is actually, it looks like a little celebratory.
Cute, like a little party popper?
Yeah, party popper.
Confetti cannon. Okay, I'm going to drop that link in the chat right now because I think we all need all of that all the time. Let me boop, hold on, and go. Amazing. I know, Stacey. The second Daphne said confetti, I was like, tell me more. Like, you had me at confetti. That's super cute. Well, and those are the things, right? The little moments where we're like, this thing on. And so whatever we can, I mean, it's like a seance every day. If we can somehow pop confetti in there or something, it's like, okay, signs of life. Like, and I think they can see a little bit of our personality, which again, as language teachers, we're used to expressing, okay, and just being like super dramatic and whatever. And now we're like, like Lisa, it's like almost like, I feel like we did a lot of acting before. I feel like teaching is like 70% acting, but now we're all like Oscar winning acting. Like it's to a whole new level because it's also like getting all of the production pieces in place and being like acting and also lights, camera, and like doing all the things. Rebecca, I was going to ask you one of the other prompts. About 10 minutes left. You did not answer this prompt, but I wanted to ask you anyway, but I'm going to also alter it. So if you all haven't seen the CULTR Thrive videos, kind of where this conversation stemmed from, the videos are 2 minutes or fewer, less time, fewer minutes than 2, so 1 or whatever, but you can't go over 2 minutes. And there are a variety of topics to choose from. So we've added a recent one that talks about like 2020, 2021. But each person who submits a video then responds to one of those. And I'm going to alter one of these. What continues for you, Rebecca? What continues to offer inspiration? One of the prompts is, why did you become a language teacher? But without that, and what offers inspiration, but what continues to offer inspiration these days?
I mean, I definitely continue to be inspired by my students and their interest in learning a language under really challenging circumstances. So, getting these new 6th graders halfway through the year, and just, when they come on and I'm all, oh, bonjour, Rory, bonjour, Taylor. And then, 1 or 2 unmutes and says, bonjour, madame. And I'm like, oh, you remembered what my name is in class. And like, you're willing to say it out loud. And, just those sweet moments of feeling like, okay, we are making some progress. I just have, unfortunately, still in my head, the timeline of the normal school year, which is very hard to dump. So, I am inspired by their efforts to try to create with language and try to make sense of what's going on. The 8th graders are doing a little comparison now about comparing like French cafe culture to the experience of getting a Starbucks here, and just listening to them talk about like, how should we say pink drink in French? And let's come up with a la boisson rose, and talking about that. And, it is sweet to see them get excited about learning. And I, certainly continue to enjoy being a language learner myself, and continuing to find resources that will appeal to them in this moment and kind of speak to the experience that we're in. And the technology piece, I really have been quite a Luddite throughout my career. I didn't have a real cell phone, a smartphone, until I got Teacher of the Year, and they were like, okay, you cannot have the flip phone and come to ACTFL again.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was gonna be like, I think
Rebecca Aubrey, who is the most generous, sweethearted woman in the world, looked at that phone like 5 minutes after I won, and she was just like, what is that?
Amazing. I remember when you were like, I have Twitter now on my phone. I have a new smartphone. Like, give me a second. I was like,
so I have sort of entered the modern world, dragging my feet, but I've learned a lot. And I have to say, now we're right at the moment of the year where we're coming back on the lessons that we created online for the first time last year. And going back, those were like such masterpieces in the moment when I made them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you didn't know anything. Like, look how far you've come. And once you've been teaching for 20 years, like year 19 doesn't look that different from year 20. But year 22 looks very different from year 23. And I think, teachers, we love to learn, we love to grow, we want to feel like we're getting somewhere. And, I have learned a lot of the things that are helping me communicate with my students and share ideas and let them share their ideas. So that is inspiring to me. Absolutely.
Daphne, what about you? What continues to inspire you as a language teacher?
I can just echo many of those things that Rebecca shared. I love my students. They are the ones who motivate me to get up every morning. I just, and I make sure that I let them know that it's such a privilege and honor to teach them. It doesn't matter how poor they may perform, just being present and taking the time to listen. By, my course being an elective, they could easily just drop and they not to. So I know that there's still interest. And so I wake up every morning just really grateful and thankful that I have an audience that I get to see on levels, because I teach 5 preps. And so every hour it's something different for me. I've also challenged them with a lot of very controversial topics this year. And that has sparked a lot of good, rich conversation. Sometimes I think I may go a little too far, but I always do feedback surveys, which I used to be nervous about hearing critique from my own students, but now I look so much forward to it. And then I share with them anonymously some of the comments, and I thank them if they pointed something out that I can improve on, or if it's something that they really enjoyed. I said, you know what, since you all enjoyed that, I'm going to make sure that we do that again, and just letting them know that it matters, that they matter, their voices matter in all aspects, because without them, I would not be at school.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely my kiddos. And I like learning. I love research, but I have been dabbling into building websites.
Mm,
And
cool.
so trying to find platforms that are accessible for students for all different types of purposes. So my next project is to do a donors choose donation run for books in German for children,
Cool.
diverse books, and I'm going to have my students read them on video, and then we're going to send the videos out to elementary schools. My Black Student Union just got their project funded in 24 hours yesterday. I was so excited. And so I'm going to now do this for German because I think it's going to be great for the kids to see, you know, the upperclassmen reading a story and then they're reading it in German. So I'm looking forward to doing those type of things, just finding ways to make technology work and be fun and enjoyable.
I think that's huge too, as we wrap up, like looking forward. One of the prompts, and we've pasted the prompts into the chat there. So you've got, they go A through F, F being, is hindsight 2020, right? Which is like our sort of overarching topic tonight. So to me, we've got these two kind of things, like looking forward, which we've, like Rebecca said, like we've got to have things to look forward to. And like you said, like looking forward, like we're going to do this down the line. You know, there's some long game kind of happening, like, because if without that, I might actually, like, you know what, forget it, this is not worth it, whatever. I've got to have things to look forward to. But then also in retrospect, reflecting and looking back, where do we go from here? Any last thoughts on what this means for future school years? And for example, as we look as language teachers, I use Go Formative religiously. It is my favorite thing. You can do all the modes in fewer it's incredible. I feel like I will never, if I can help it, not use that. And so going forward for me, I'm going to continue being intentional about my, the professional development that I'm engaging in, like what kind of input I'm getting. I have specific goals. Like I want to get better at this. I want to get better at this. I want to keep using this tool, but also just how we think our classrooms are going to look in the future. If we're going to incorporate some of this technology, like Rebecca, you just said, we're going to have like a year's worth of stuff. Rebecca, where do we go from here? What do you think is going to change, if anything?
When I'm thinking about next year, I am just thinking about all the students with all the incredibly diverse experiences they've had of learning over the last 11 months. And where does that leave us? Like this year is very, very tricky. And come September, we're going to get the kids who were really disengaged for the previous 18 months and who are now coming into French 2. Kids who came from our remote learning school who had no human contact during their language learning this year and have done everything asynchronous online. They're going to be signed up for French 2. Wow. I have these like sweet little cherubs who just every minute since March 13th until today, they're just go, go, go. They're already at intermediate low. They're ready for more.
Wow.
They're going into French 2. I think we're on the cusp of like the greatest experiment ever needed in differentiation. And I don't quite know what that's going to look like. I need to look back over my Leslie Grahn notes on tasks, for example. So that's kind of the big one. And for sure, some of the technology that we've used this year is helpful and will have value next year. Though I have to admit, yesterday I had like this fleeting fantasy. What if I used no screens next year? And I just said, you know what? Last year we did too much. Now we're doing nothing. Everything's just paper, chit chat, throw the ball. Anyway, that's not really going to happen. Yeah. But I had that, like, I think it was just a fantasy from being too much on the screens.
Yeah, but still, I mean, we talk about paperless, and people make things look effortless. We've got some kind of obsession with less. And I think sometimes it's appropriate, but yeah, maybe we need to be a little paper full, or, what I mean, I don't hate the idea of that right now these days, because like I said, everything's like, all right, go ahead and get on your laptop, get logged in. You logged in? Great. Everybody logged in? Rebecca's sitting in front of you. She's not logged in. It's like, hasn't logged in since December. Everything good? Okay, great. You logged in. no. This has been, yeah, definitely trying. Daphne, where do you see us going from here?
I see us, focusing on what we're interested in and not trying to do all things.
Mm,
More, really. Less is more. The
yeah.
students, we have to really understand that the students are not just taking our course, they're taking 6 other courses, and with 6 different teachers who use 6 different other ways to teach and, assign their work. And so if we could be consistent, keep it fun, and keep it current. Please keep it current. I try not to go any later than 2018 with any resources that I use, unless it's something traditional and we're comparing. But keep it current, because these kids, the majority are on social media as young as 5th grade. And being on social media, it's fast and it's current. And so we have to be able to kind of keep up with that. And just love on them how you can.
Yeah.
You to love on them and tell them and, pause. That's all. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, I think we were, well, I mean, we always, I guess we're teachers, right? Like we want things to go a certain way, but I think we were, I know I was overcomplicating things before that didn't need to be overcomplicated. Like I was saying this earlier, earlier today, but then I mentioned it before. I've never done so many formative checks. I'm assessing formatively more than I ever have, and now I'm looking like, what was I doing? I was just kind of like hoping for the best, we, you check things when you can, but like now that it's like you're in the moment, in their answer, omniscient, looking at everyone's screen, basically in whatever you're using, that it's like, hey, Rebecca, you with me? All right, Daphne, we're on number 4. All right, Jimmy, Johnny, whatever. That's been really eye-opening, and realizing how much we were doing before. And like you said, Daphne, how much we were trying to cram in, maybe we can pare down a little bit and not go back necessarily in the same ways, or not try to do so much that we can't do it thoroughly. Because there have been some things that I know I've been able to do more thoroughly this year. And that's been kind of like, oh, I never thought we had time for that. It turns out we did. So, yeah, great points. Well, thank you so much. We literally just hit our little time here. So it's 8:00 Eastern time. Daphne, does that make it 7 for you? You in Central? Okay. I never know when the Central ends. And so it just keeps going. So I personally, I thank you so much for our time. And I know on behalf of CULTR, we've dropped the prompts again in the chat, but they're here. And like I said, they have those different letters. So when you get to the site and you scroll down, you'll see some face panels. You'll see Rebecca's face, Daphne's face, and other incredible people. And when you hover, it'll give you like a little camera that you can click and watch the video. They're all, again, like under 2 minutes and really, really fast. And people from all over, all different languages, levels. And if I start comparing myself, I get a little comparative and I'm like, oh no, so-and-so is really doing awesome. Oh, so-and-so posted that great idea. Why can't I just be like so-and-so? And the videos are really, really awesome to like center and come back and go, okay, I need to stop. For me, I need to stop, gaslighting myself basically, and telling myself that I'm not enough, because we are all going through a lot of these same things every day, and in like multiple rotations per day. It's like not even period, it's like period by period for me at least. And so it's really, really nice to feel like we're not, all by yourself. We've also dropped CULTR's email address in there. So you can email Christy at CULTR at any time if you have any comments, questions. They also do PD offerings in the summer, different workshops, and lots of options, and they're awesome. And so they're here in Atlanta, but who knows what will happen over the summer. So they might be virtual again, which they were this past summer. So Rebecca, thank you so much. Daphne, thank you so much. And sorry for kicking you out of the Zoom, Rebecca.
I forgive you. It was great to chat with both of you tonight.
Yes, we super appreciate it. So we got the recording, and we'll post it on the CULTR page. Maybe Christy can pop in and let me know if I forgot anything or if I've misspoken about the location of the video. It'll be someplace. It'll exist in a place, but it'll be very visible. We'll email out or something. Anyway, I'll just say that we're going to do a thing. Sorry, Christy. But I appreciate it. And we'll see you guys soon. We'll see you on Twitter and Lang Chat and all the places. Thank you. And thanks for attending.